Good evening and welcome to Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios right here in downtown Colombo. And joining me this evening is rather tired Bandula Jayasekara, who started work very early today. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Faraz.
Nice to see you awake. And thank you for being on the show. And we also have Kirti Tenakun, the Executive Director of CAFE, the Campaign for a Free and Fair Election. Good evening. Thank you for being on our network. And so has the election been fair and free?
Yes, and we have experienced one of the most peaceful elections, and when comparing to the previous elections, for us, I think this is one of the most free and fair elections in general.
Excellent. So we have progress after all then, Bandula. Progress, a great election.
Yeah, but it was not without violence. I mean, there were incidents, there was a killing in Kotahena, there were incidents.
Yes, there was a drive-by shooting.
Yeah, and also about this removing of posters and all that, there were incidents. But at least, like Kirti said, it's a progress.
It's progress.
It's better than before.
Indeed. And indeed, there's been progress. On a day when the Prime Minister managed to have 3 cabinet ministers named, we also have the news that the former chairman of the Securities Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka, Nalika Kodaheba, was at the FCID offices helping them with their inquiries. And it is expected that those inquiries will come to a conclusion tomorrow. We also have news that the former Defence Secretary, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, made an appearance at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry to investigate and inquire into serious serious fraud, corruption and abuse of power, state resources and privileges. A long name, but nevertheless a presidential inquiry, and Mr. Rajapaksa apparently spent several hours there today. We have no official statement yet from the Presidential Commission of Inquiry. That will no doubt follow in the fullness of time. And on the sad day that Kumar Sangakkara is finally making an exit from the cricket scene. Bandula, what do you think? One of the greatest sportsmen this country has ever known?
Yeah, apart from being a sportsman, he has been a good true ambassador. He has represented the country well, because Kumar is one person who can speak very well, and so he's spoken very well for Sri Lanka. Apart from, he is, with his bat as well as, he's used his, oratory skills, and he has spoken well for the country.
A fine brand Sangha. A fabulous brand for this country.
Yeah, definitely. I think in the recent past, he's even, like we discussed in the morning, by the Colin Cowdrey lecture.
Indeed, yes, that was a fabulous lecture.
Done us proud.
It did. Some people didn't like his openness, but the rest of the world, the rest of the cricketing fraternity loved it.
And also he could take on this sledging, and he handled this well, because he knew the Queen's language well, and so he could sledge back, and so that was, it was very difficult for the others to face him.
And we've had this presidential flourish today, and the news that His Excellency the President of our country has offered Kumar Sangakkara the position of High Commissioner in London. Kumar has, of course, said that he was surprised, but he will consult and consider the options available to him. Will he make a good ambassador?
But I would say for us that the correct thing would have been for the president, okay, fine, he went and said, this is not the way. This is what sometimes in the past we have messed things up. See, it's a serious appointment. The president would have invited him to his residence along with the foreign minister and maybe the prime minister, and offered him there and told the world, this is the way I look at it. But you use the word presidential flourish.
Presidential flourish, like us journalists. Sometimes we journalists have journalistic flourish.
One thing we should not forget that, during the Mahinda Rajapaksa regime, it was the foreign service was given the blast, and it has very serious setbacks as a country, where when they were making all these political appointments down there.
It's not only Mahinda, it is from Jayawardena, all these people have made it. Even Mr. Wickremesinghe has appointed his driver to New York. So I mean, let's all the politicians have done it. It's not only him.
That's the point I'm just about to touch.
Yeah, let's stick to the point we are saying about this incident. That's why I say we got to change it. We got to be, and then not to be at the laughing stock. Everybody had missed me, so let's try
That's
to
true,
change
but I think in this case the entire country loves to love Kumar Sangakkara, because he really has been a unique player and quite possibly the greatest sportsman ever to be produced thus far on this wonderful island nation of ours. Following the election, the people's pulse, I thought I'd like to go and touch on this people's pulse. Having voted the new parliament in, and as we wait to see the composition of the new government, there's only 3 members appointed thus far, plus the Prime Minister, of course. I've got a few things here which I think the public ought to keep a little note of. One is the matter about Wale Suda. The next one is, of course, the subject that has been a thorn in the side of the United National Party, the central bank bond scandal. Will Mahendran go? Will he stay? We look forward to seeing what happens on that one. And then there's the matter of KP. What's he doing? Where's the money? What's happened? I'd like to know. Do you know that?
No, so
you don't know.
Yeah, this is important, I think, for everybody to know that.
Do you know about that?
No.
No, you
There's
don't.
no headlines from that in the...
Very quiet. Then we have, of course, the matter of the roads, the so-called highway robbery. We'd like to know a bit more detail from the powers that be about that. After all, it's the public's money. And last but not least of all, we would like we'd like to know why it is that defeated candidates end up in Parliament through the national list. Having been voted out of office by the people, the cornerstone of democracy seems to have been all but brushed aside. Brushed under the carpet, over the carpet, God knows where. But nevertheless, defeated candidates have ended up in Parliament, or set to end up. Who shall we ask this from?
I can ask
We'll
free
ask
and
Keithy,
fair people first,
the
and
man
then
who's here from Cafe. What do you think?
I mean, getting the defeated candidates back into the Parliament is legal, number one. Under the section 99A, the national list can contain the district proportional system quota and the listed contested candidates, and plus the national list. And this is according to the election law of the country, and so far it can be justified.
Yes, I think the question really is this. It is not whether it is legal or illegal. It is whether it is ethical and whether it upholds true democratic principles by imposing on the public somebody whom the public have clearly voted out.
Definitely.
Is it ethical?
It's not ethical, for sure. And that's why when the 20th Amendment was drafted, this particular issue was highlighted very much. And we were asking for the closed national list. That means whenever a political party published its national list, definitely they have to stick into the national list and nothing but through the national list. But here it's very unfortunate that this law still prevailed, and the political parties, all the political parties, the 4 political parties who had a chance to elect nationalist members, name nationalist members, the UNP, UPFA, JVP, and now the TNA has appointed the defeated candidates.
You know, I've always wanted to ask you this, Keithy. I know we've met before on different programs, but I'd like to know who funds the campaign for a free and fair election.
And so we are funded by different organizations like embassies and the NDI, National Democratic Institute, National Endowment for Democracy.
NDI? Is that
it's American organization.
Right.
And in this election, we were funded by the British government, British High Commission in Sri Lanka, and during the last election, it was funded by the Canadian High Commission. It's various funds.
But don't these people have agendas? I mean, how can you say that you are independent fair because these people have agendas. How
But,
can
yeah,
you say
well,
you
how-
are free?
We are free
How
just
can
because
you say that? Because these people have agendas.
just because
So-
of we are getting funded by the different organizations or different this, you are not saying that we
So,
are
yeah,
not free.
That is what. So how can you show
What
how
do
free
they
you
ask
are?
you? What do they ask
No,
you?
I mean, monitoring elections is all about whether the election is free and fair according to the election law of the country. And the Brest norm,
Can I ask you this?
yep,
Britain had an election not long ago.
yep.
Do they have independent monitors? Did Sri Lankan people go
Yes,
out there?
the two people from Sri Lanka was invited, and I think Karmasen Kodituk went down there, if my memory is. I know definitely he was invited. The second person to monitor the election was invited was Imitias Bakir Makar. I don't know whether they went down there. I know.
But there is a process that other countries
Yeah,
can go
I mean,
through.
almost
but
every
those-
single country is having exercise. I mean, according to the universal, the exercises, I mean, the election monitor is accepted, no, and it was practiced throughout the world.
Just from a curiosity point
Sure.
of view, Britain is perhaps the wrong example because it, Commonwealth and all that. Do we send monitors to the U.S. presidential election?
Yeah, sure.
do?
I mean, there are so many parliamentarians has gone to EU.
And who funds that then? Who funds the?
It
let's say-
depends. I don't know the source of funding.
Okay.
But some of these countries have made adverse comments on Sri Lanka because it amounts to interference, and then these people are
In this
funding.
election, I have never seen
No,
that.
no, no. I'm
There were
saying
so many.
generally,
There were
I'm not
so many.
saying
For example,
generally.
EU was
So
down
do you
there. The
declare your
Commonwealth was
assets?
down
Do
there.
you declare your assets? Do you do that? Now, when you say you have got funds from Britain so much, Canada, do you do that?
Yes. Why
Have
not?
you, yeah, to the public, can we
Yes,
see it?
yes.
Yeah.
Anyone can see it. Go to the company register
Yeah.
and you can find
so
out.
do you get a very
Yes.
thumping salary, big salary?
Huh?
Do you get a big thumping salary, dollar salary?
I'm not getting
Yeah.
dollar salary. I'm getting a rupee
Yeah,
salary.
big salary.
Okay. But the thing is that you do publish accounts. At the
Yes,
end of-
why not?
Every year or at the end
Every
of-
year, yes.
Okay.
According to the Company Act, yes,
So
we do.
so this process is ongoing process, is it?
It's an ongoing process, yes.
And so do you work full time in this?
Yes.
In here. So do you have
Yes.
another job?
After, no,
No.
I am working full time.
So
After
you-
I was fired by the Kalani University just for doing election monitoring during the
Okay.
Mahinda Rajapaksa regime.
Is it very lucrative, this job you're doing?
Is it?
Is it very lucrative?
What do you mean by lucrative?
Lucrative is lucrative. The word lucrative, is it
Do you-
lucrative?
Does it? Does
What
it make
are
you
your
more money?
perks? Is it lucrative?
Does it make you more money than Kelani? I think that's what Badr was asking.
Yeah, it's lucrative, so you must be getting
All right.
very well paid.
Then
Lucrative.
let's move on a little bit. What do these people expect of you when they fund you? You know, Canada. Canada has been very not very kind to Sri Lanka. I think
On what basis?
I can speak.
on
I have
the-
served as the Consul General for Toronto for 2 years, and I can speak with authority how they are biasness.
Didn't they?
I can say
did they
that.
not come to Chogam? Did they not?
And they have made adverse comments, and they have supported certain elements, which they have now. See today. So in fact, today I have written an article in the Island which says how they stormed the Consulate General's office. So there's nothing was done. So
Well,
you
what-
say that.
This is, I mean, the issue here, why and for what we are using this money. No one is questioned our credibility on electoral monitoring. So, I mean,
But
can
we-
you,
we-
can you,
but-
can you,
but-
I mean,
but we
you
are
are talking
questioning
about,
now. We are
you are
questioning now, so
you are
please
talking
answer.
about,
Please
yes.
answer. We are questioning now,
Yes.
so please answer. Nobody questioned, but we are questioning now. So
Yes.
please answer. Simple.
The issue, we are doing the election monitoring using that money.
Yeah,
So
but
there's-
we want to know how it's spent. We want to know because we, as Sri
So it's given
Lankans,
to it's a public document and
Yeah.
each and every
So
year.
can we see?
How does
Yes.
this money come
Yes.
through? How does it come through? Does it come through the foreign ministry or
It's come through the foreign embassies and it's
To
come
the
to our
embassies
bank accounts and
directly?
nothing.
yeah. So your bank accounts, anybody can. You're free,
Yes.
like the way you monitor elections.
Yes.
You're free, so we can see it.
Yes, otherwise the company secretary won't allow us to work.
No, it's good, but
Yeah.
yes, the
Yes.
media would like to
Sure.
know. So you are transparent.
Yes, why not?
excellent? That really gives us greater hope. I'd just like to move on to this matter about corruption and so on. What is your feeling, Kirti, now that we've had this free and fair election, by and large? And,
when compared to the previous election.
Exactly.
It's there were events and there were election violence, and when comparing to the
how do you think, as a Sri Lankan citizen, forgetting your cafe cap on, but as a Sri Lankan citizen, how do you like to see this government move forward on these various issues? We've had corruption, we've had abuse of power, even in this last 120 odd days or 140 days. We've had all sorts of things. How would you like to see it going forward as a Sri Lankan?
Definitely, I think Sri Lanka is in the right track. Just because of whenever these issues were highlighted, it's given a very public hearing, and the media is reporting what is happening down there. People can criticize people, and their ideologies are reaching to the people with media, and people can hold ideas and they can express their views freely. So that's all what democracy is all about. The public debate and the discussion.
But there's a lot of claims that have been made against all sorts of people,
yes,
including the former government, from President Rajapaksa downwards. But 8 months down the line, we haven't really seen much progress. We've had 2 people, one person still in remand, another one's been out on bail, and so it all sounds very far-fetched.
I think their expectations were so high, and
whose expectation?
People's expectations.
Yes, exactly.
That's the people's expectation, and political expectations is so high. I think there's a very slow process of progress, and that has made all the people frustrated to some extent.
Do you think that's why not as many people voted
Maybe
at
that
this
might
election rather than the presidential
Definitely, I think that is one of the reasons. But we should understand the voting pattern in Sri Lanka, and people come to polling stations more than in a presidential election. But less people come somewhere around. I mean, during when we are comparing to the previous elections, parliamentary elections especially, it's somewhere around 65%, while it's 75 to 8% when it comes to a presidential election. The less people are coming to vote in a parliamentary election.
I want to ask you this, and I wonder if you'll help me out, Bandula, here. We have about 1 million people who work abroad.
Yeah, 1.7 million, if my memory is correct.
So all of them are necessarily over 18 years of age, therefore have the franchise. Why can't they vote?
And Sri Lanka has not facilitating this distance voting, and this is a very unethical thing when it comes to the universal franchise, because these people have spent most of their time abroad, try to send some money to Sri Lankan friends, relatives for that matter. It's the main income for generation factor for Sri Lankan economy, and there must be a way to ensure that these people are getting voting rights. And moreover, in some of even the embassy people, Bandula knows it very well.
That's true,
I mean, the people who are working down there.
That is true. I think people,
even the diplomat
they can't. So people have made representation. At least there has to be somewhere. I agree with Keith on that. There has to be.
Yeah.
For years, like other countries, you could vote,
And,
like
and,
Germany,
we,
US.
and we've got embassies all over the world.
Yes, so we can, have it at the embassy. There could be something which we haven't. Like I know the Germans have electronic, system of voting, so we should do that. Especially the Middle Eastern crowd, so they should have a voice there.
But here, once again, it has to come up with electoral reforms, because it says, the Election Act says, you have to physically make a ballot paper down there, put in, and you have to put it into the ballot box. So it definitely, even for introduction of the electronic machines for voting, definitely there must be some changes on the electoral law of the country. And that's why we was not able to use the machines like what India do. And the electoral reforms are main highlighted factor, and I think it has to be addressed within next 6-7 months for sure.
And Kirti, what do you think will happen in Parliament now? There's a lot of speculation today. When I've been spending my day in town, a lot of people, most of them speculating whether the cabinet will be more than 30. Is this a national government? Is this a coalition government? What do you think is going to happen in Parliament?
It seems like, I mean, we will have some cabinet somewhere around 25 to 30 people, not more than 30 people for sure. And
are you very sure about it?
I mean, Bandura, according to this, I mean, we
but
can
what
have...
we read in the papers is
okay,
something
I
else.
mean, according to the 19th Amendment, we cannot, we can only have 30 people and nothing more than that as the cabinet of ministers. But with the deputy minister and the state ministers, it can go up to 70. And I think
just 30 and 40.
Just after the Geneva, you can expect more, because they try to label it as the national government. It's not. That's why they are not using the coalition government. Actually, this is a coalition government rather than a national government.
I quite agree with you, because the 19th Amendment is it's almost very specific. It talks of a national government which comprises the majority party in Parliament, along with the other parties. Now, if we were to put it around the other way and say, who or what are these other parties? Who is this other parties? Then you'll have the response. You'll have all the parties. Crucially, unfortunately, or by design, the word "the" has been is not preceded by "all," because if we had "all," it would be clarity at its best. But somebody left it out. Perhaps that's because...
Intentionally?
Now, let me ask you the question the other way. What's the flag called? The Sri Lankan flag. What's it called?
The Sri Lankan flag.
It's the national flag. Okay? We have, what is it, the song that we sing?
A national anthem.
It's the national anthem, and that's my point. We have a national airline, we have a national flag, and we have a national... And that means we don't have a national anthem for each community, do we?
Now we have a national government.
And so when you talk of a national
government, they just
government,
try to label it as a national government
only
just
because
to overcome the 19th Amendment and nothing else. This is a coalition government which it is going to happen and nothing else.
So are you saying that this is a sort of a disguise, because they want to have more members in the cabinet, because they want to give them sweeteners? And so if you label it national, then there is no limit on it. Well, there is. It's set by Parliament.
I think, it is not the sweetness, but it matters. But these two leading politicians, the President and the Prime Minister, very clearly mentioned throughout for last 8 months for sure that we will form a national government. And there's a sort of a mandate for that for sure. And they are working on that. In the other hand, some people might left out and some people will protest for sure from the SLFP or maybe the other coalition partners of the UPFA. We will wait and see. And there will be some other issues coming just after the Geneva sessions.
But there's some people, some parties like the JVP, for example, who say we don't want to be part of this.
And its TNAs has also mentioned it yesterday.
Yes. Yep. So, but the TNA are hedging their bets, because they've also said that if push comes to shove, then they will support Ranil Wickremesinghe's party.
Yeah, so there won't be any opposition, it seems.
Well, in the true essence of the word, a national government, like we had in Britain in 1930 and I think in 45, a national government has no space. There's no residue left for an opposition.
I think, it's not all the political parties rule the country what it needs. We need a very strong opposition. Or otherwise, if the parliamentary is not doing that, definitely we are having a problem. Because when it comes to the concerned issues like corruption, for that matter, the treasury bond issue, for example, it was raised in Parliament and it was debated in Parliament, and that's why the COP and all these committees had inquiry on that. So that's the where the things trigger it out, and that's where the points were highlighted. And we need that sort of a vibrant opposition. And if all the political parties collaborating into one, national government, that sort of a vibrant opposition will not take place.
Well, unfortunately, in the last administration, the opposition, which is now the government, didn't do much. They, in fact, walked out when they were debating the 17th Amendment.
Yeah.
Well, One quick word, though, just a few seconds.
Sure.
What do you think of Kumar Sangakkara?
I think he will make a good ambassador, but this is a very big bet when you are putting up with, that sort of a responsibility. He was a very good player,
But
very good cover drive. Will it make a very good ambassador?
I think he will do better than most of the people who are representing.
Now the thing is, you are biased because I've just realized something. He's a top-class cricketer. However, there's only one thing
don't
wrong.
bring the school here.
He went to Trinity. He went to
Bring the school
Trinity.
here.
Thank you, Kirti Tenakun, for being on our network.
Thank you.
And Bandula, thank you for gracing us with this occasion again.
Thanks for this.
And let me say, on a day that we're talking about Kumar Sangakkara quite a bit, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And a special message to Kumar Sangakkara. We'd like to say, gentleman beyond the game. He goes down as possibly Sri Lanka's greatest ever sportsman. And for all the great moments you gave us, Kumar Sangakkara, thank you. And on that note, we'll wish you a very good evening. Thank you, good night, and God bless you.